Apfelstrudel. Do I have to say more? Apfelstrudel? I think most people are familiar with this. A strudel can actually not only be filled with apples, it can also be filled with vegetables and meat and other things. But most common is the apple strudel, and today I show you how to bake this. For this recipe today I need 400 grams of flour, an egg, 150 milliliters of lukewarm water. I need half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a pinch of salt and 3 tablespoons of oil. I'm using a sunflower oil. Just use any oil that doesn't have a certain taste like olive oil or something that would have a too strong taste of itself. So you need an oil that is more neutral in taste. For the filling I will need 120 grams of sugar, 50 grams of breadcrumbs, the juice of half a lemon, some apples and 50 grams of butter. The dough is very easy to make. You start with the flour, and I put this into the mixing bowl. Then I add the lukewarm water. I also add the egg, then the pinch of salt. I also add 3 tablespoons of oil, 2 and 3. And the cinnamon is in the wrong section, it has to go to the filling, so the cinnamon does not go into the dough. Alright, and now I'm mixing this to create a very smooth dough. Now this was needing, I would say, at least 5 minutes. I didn't look on the clock. But you want to really knead this for an extended time so you get the gluten active here and have the elasticity that you need later to roll this dough. But it's not yet time to roll this dough because it has to rest a little bit, and for that I will put a little bit of oil into a bowl and I put the dough into the oil. It's just a little bit, it's just a coating of oil, so I can put it into the fridge and let it rest for a while. And this resting is important so I can later roll this dough very thinly. It should rest for at least 30 minutes. Better is an hour or 2 or even more. But if you're in a rush, you can just use 30 minutes. It could be enough already. But if you notice that it's not very easy to work with the dough, you should extend this resting time. I will now prepare the ingredients for the filling of my strudel. And you notice that the strudel itself doesn't have any sugar in the dough, which really means you can put anything in there. And that's what some people do. So I first squish my lemon for some juice. And the juice will prevent the apples from oxidating, so they don't turn brown. And now I peel the apples, and the kind of apples that you want to use here is a rather tart kind of apples, so not the sweet version. Alright, so now I have to cut them into smaller pieces, and let me see if this is still sharp enough, but I think it's not too dull. I was worried it's too dull. And now to cut these apple pieces into smaller pieces, I'm using this shortcut again. You've seen me using this in other videos already. I will put a link to a similar item below this video in case you feel like you want that too, because it makes things so much easier and faster. I like cutting things, but you know, I want to focus on doing the cooking itself and not just cut all the time. And this is so nice because all these pieces will have about the same size. Now look, this is a very even cut of apples. And I think I didn't mention how much apple you need. You should plan to have roughly 800 grams of apples, but if it's a little more, that's okay. Important is that you can fit it all into your strudel in the end. Okay, I am adding the lemon juice now. It's not much though. I also add the sugar and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And if you want to use raisins in your strudel, which is very traditional, but still many people don't like raisins, like my family here, then you would soak them in rum or in apple juice for, I would say, at least an hour, so they get really, really soft. But before you put the raisins into the mix, you should squeeze them out a little bit so there's not too much of the liquid in this filling later on, okay? You can also, instead of making an Apfelstrudel, you can make a quark strudel, which is my favorite version of a strudel. I will put the recipe for a quark filling into the blog, and you can read how to make that one. It's not difficult, but you will first have to make quark unless you're in an area where you can buy it. Okay, so this will be set aside now, and the next step is about the breadcrumbs. So I put this over here. And when I was preparing this video, I was going to my pantry for some breadcrumbs, and I looked at the packages and I realized, okay, this is a breadcrumb box with Parmesan and this is one with lemon pepper. Both of these are not really suitable for an apple strudel. So lucky I had a roll from 2 days ago, which has become really hard, and I put it into the food processor and made my own batch of breadcrumbs. So more good here, no lemon pepper, no Parmesan in my apple strudel. Now what I want to do is I want to roast these breadcrumbs, and for that I will put the butter into the pan and I let the butter melt, which will take a moment. When the butter is melted, I add the breadcrumbs, the plain breadcrumbs. That's like a tongue twister for me, breadcrumbs. And I stir this and I leave this in the pan for a little bit. So the breadcrumbs soak all the butter into them, and they don't really have to be, you know, like brownish roasted, just a little bit. And this will go on the strudel once I have rolled it out, and then on top of that I will put the apples, but yet you will see this in a little bit. Okay, I'll put this back into my bowl. Now it's time to roll out the dough, and for that I've prepared a kitchen towel. I laid it flat here and I covered it generously with some flour, which will later help me to remove the strudel from the kitchen towel. Okay, and here's the dough. It has rested for a little more than half an hour. I would have loved to give it a little more time, but I'm a little bit late already and my family would like to have dinner at some point. So I am rolling this now. And when you roll the dough, you always roll from the middle. to the rim. And so far I can say that the dough has rested enough. It's not resisting too much. And I'm rolling this for as long as I can. But in the end I have to pull this dough, and how that's done I show you. Okay, I think that's as far as I can get. So now you have to get your hands under this dough and pull it out. And you don't put it with your fingers part, because then it would rip. Instead you're using the back of your hands and pull it this way. Okay, so I go under here. And I can entirely move this from the towel. And I stretch this with the back of my hands. I hope you can see that in the video. You see how much elasticity this dough has. It has to become really, really, really thin, so you can see the pattern of the towel through the dough. Okay, it still needs some stretching on the sides. Okay, I think I'm good here. And it's not always easy to get the shape exact, but you don't have to cut the sides, you can leave it as it is. It's just something that I do. And most of the time the outer ends are a little thicker than the rest, so I want this to be as even as possible. And I can use this dough with a little bit of plum spread filling and make something else from it, so I put this aside. Yeah, and before I continue, I want to put a little bit of oil onto my dough and make it a little more elastic. You can also use some butter instead of oil. People do this differently. Some people spread the filling all over the place. Others just make like a line of it and then roll it. Some people roll their strudel from the long side, others from the short side, and it's totally up to you how you want to do it. There's no right or wrong, it's just the way you do it. Now it's time for the breadcrumbs. So I put them onto my rolled dough and spread it. Now leave some space to the rim of the dough. Okay, like this. And now I add the apples. And I add them all over the place. That's how I do it. Oh, I smell the cinnamon. It smells so good. Cinnamon and apple, it's a great combination. One of the best if you ask me. Try to make it a little bit even. Here a little more. Okay, now here comes the interesting part and the reason why I'm using a towel. So I'm flipping the sides towards the middle a little bit, like this. And then I make some space. Then I start rolling this with the towel. I hope you can see this. Let me show it a little better. So this is my strudel. And I roll it. Move this over here so you can see. I roll it all over there. And I close the gap. I will close in a minute once I put it on my baking sheet. Alright, so. And since the dough is so thin and this whole thing is quite fragile, it's good that the towel keeps it all together, and I can just move it onto my baking sheet. Got a little crooked. Don't like that. Okay. Fixed it mostly. Yeah, and here is my wonderful strudel now. Looks quite nice. I will have to put some butter on top now, and then it goes into the oven. And the oven is preheating now to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And depending on your oven, the strudel will take about 20 to 25 minutes. This looks really nice. It's something maybe you want to make for Thanksgiving, just to have a little change. Just an idea. Okay. Alright. I still have this little dough left over that I cut away. Let me see what I can do with that. Yeah, so I'm still waiting for the oven, and then I will put it in there, and when I'm finished with baking I will show you the result. Yes, here is now the result of all this, and you can see this is a very nice strudel, and it's still hot, but I will carefully cut it open so you can see what it looks like on the inside. So turn this. This is the strudel, and the best way to enjoy a strudel is while it's still warm, and you add some vanilla sauce and some vanilla ice cream, and you can also top this with some whipped cream. Some people prefer it cold and just with some whipped cream, and that's up to you how you enjoy it, but my favorite way is to just put a bit of vanilla ice cream on top of my slice of Apfelstrudel and enjoy it like that. There's one last step I have to show you. There's always some confectioner's sugar on the Apfelstrudel, like this. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video, if you like this recipe, please give me a thumbs up and sign up for my channel. Also visit my blog post because there's always some additional info and it's really worth reading through these things. I can't mention everything in a video, so visit my blog www.MyGerman.Recipes. I'll see you in my next video and thanks for watching.